Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope you're all doing good. And the title of this stream's pretty simple. I thought I was in the mood to maybe do a live Q&A tonight. Because as I tell all of you every week, I go in and read all of the chat replay. And it's good to see all of you in the chat. And sometimes you guys have questions that I'm just not going to be able to answer. So get your questions ready. And in a couple minutes here, I'm going to go through the chat. You guys can ask me questions about the Second Amendment. That'd be awesome. Michigan stuff, if you want to know. What do you guys think about the Trump administration and the Second Amendment? I'm sure some of you have some thoughts and questions on that, or you can ask me about guns or ammo or anything like that. And of course, before we get going, I want to thank all of you for the many ways you help support the channel. Thank you to all my channel members, where you guys have access to extra emojis and a little star badge by your name. I appreciate all of you, as well as my Patreon supporters. Thank you to all of you and my supporters over on Locals, which is a different site, censorship free. I'm going to actually be streaming tomorrow night over there, as well as their sister site. Has anyone seen Susan Wiki lately? Well, she used to be the CEO of YouTube. She was such a darling. And then she died. But her ghost still haunts this channel. So we'll just say Locals and their sister site that rhymes with fumble. And over on those live streams, we can touch guns live and do all kinds of cool stuff we can't do here. So make sure you're following me there as well. Also, super chats are an excellent way to sponsor the channel. I'm not doing any ad read before the channel gets going right now. You guys are my sponsors, and I appreciate all of you. So while you guys are thinking of any questions you have, I'm going to be speaking this Thursday, I believe it is. Let me check. I know it's the date's the 17th. This Thursday, I'm going to be speaking in Branch County, Michigan. Anybody ever heard of the place? Town called Coldwater. Nice area, by the way. And their local Republican Party has asked me to be a guest speaker. So I was thinking about it, and I want to talk about Michigan stuff, and I want to talk about the Second Amendment. Well, here we are, and we're kind of in interesting times, aren't we? We're sitting here where Trump is the president of the United States with his attorney general, Pam Bondi. Hey, look, Pam Bondi. I still don't quite trust her, but look, she hasn't done anything against the Second Amendment yet that I know of, so that's good. I mean, way less worse, obviously. Trump, well, he did tell her that she shall get him a whole list of stuff, and it sounds like she's getting stuff together that he's going to be signing and overturning. So that's a good thing. Michigan, we had a Democrat trifecta for 2 years, right? For 2 years. And man, they got right in there like bulldogs and started completely and utterly undermining the Second Amendment as fast as they could. And well, what was our hope? Well, a lot of people's hope was if we can just get Republicans in, there'll be a difference. Now, here was the problem, though. The Michigan Senate wasn't up for re-election this last elections here in November. The governor, that wasn't up for election either. Somehow these people all got re-elected like every time. Nobody I know voted for any of them. But somehow they just keep getting re-elected. You guys ever hear that story? You guys ever heard that story? It was around the time that they said, we used to call him the current former vice president, but the former vice president Biden, they said, look, this is the most popular. This is the most popular of all time. The most popular and the most fortified of all time. And then they said, well, there was this guy in Michigan, and, he was a Republican his whole life. Staunch Republican. Voted conservative no matter what, every time until the day he died. And since he's died, he's done nothing but vote Democrat. You know what I mean? Maybe that's how all these people win. Very popular among the cemeteries and the morgues and the illegals and everything else. I'm sure the most trusted voting machines, everybody trusts those, right? But hey, despite all of it, whatever it was, who knows how, these people got reelected. So it was impossible to flip everything back during the last elections, but people did what they could, and they did vote for the Michigan House of Representatives. And guess what happened? It got flipped to red. Now, in this state of bifurcation that we all live in, where everybody's basically, not everybody, and a lot of you actually totally get what I'm talking about, obviously, but in the state where you have to be in one gang or the other, you're either blue or you're red. Now, me, I'm going to say this, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the stream, because this is what you say to get everybody mad at you, I guess. Well, not literally everybody, but all of the people that are real hard party line people. I actually reject the two-party system. Really can't stand any of these SOB parties, to be honest with you. I'm being serious. Now, the Republican Party does tend to be less worse. And there are some good people that are in office here and there that do happen to be Republicans. So while the Democrat Party's less worse, they're actually better in a way, but I'll explain that in a minute. Like, them being better is actually like meaning worse. They're just like better at promising stuff and actually doing it, is what I mean by they're kind of better. But they're actually like way worse for the Constitution. And we've gotten to the point now where they just hate America. And if you're looking at state level politics, they hate the state of Michigan. And if you live in a Democrat controlled state, you know as well as I do that they hate your state. Well, we went out and voted like we're supposed to do. I mean, that is what the founding fathers said, that it's your right, it's your duty to throw off a tyrannical government. So since I believe it's my duty to vote, although I'm put up usually with this false dichotomy, like worse or lesser worse or whatever, in many cases, there were some candidates, particularly on the local level, that I was actually excited for. I was very excited to see my favorite state representative, Jamie Thompson, on the ballot. I cast my vote for her. And I'm glad that she's back in representing my district of about 90,000 people in the Michigan House of Representatives. That's awesome. And then the Republicans actually took over the Michigan House. And I was like, whoa, that's awesome, I guess. And I say like, I guess, because I'm like, well, look, it'll be less worse for sure. So I guess like less worse is better than like more worse or. I think that's enough ers at the end, right? Look, Democrats have been in power so much in Michigan, it's hard for me to even be articulate or even remember how to speak properly. Well, so Trump takes over the White House. All right. I mean, certainly I didn't want Kamala. I mean, Kamala. Like, these people can't even pronounce their own names, right? And I'm like, well, okay, so Trump takes over. All right. Most of my friends are happy. That's good. I'm like kind of happy, I guess. I mean, I'm not like outraged like I would be if Kamala was president. Then the Republicans flip the Senate. Oh, the United States Senate. And retain majority of the House, although it's a very slim majority. Cool. Now, these are both parallels here I'm thinking about. So I'm like, well, Biden could go in there within seconds, within minutes, with the stroke of an auto pen. You guys know that, right? They've now determined that most of his executive orders were signed with what's called an auto pen. Just think about that. We live in a time, literally, where the president can make an executive order where they're supposed to sign their name to it, to declare it so. And this is stuff that affects many people's lives. Just think about all of the anti-Second Amendment executive orders that Biden signed in to, not law, but has full force and effect of law. And in some cases, these are even more powerful than laws. Because it's called the fox is guarding the hen house. See, the ATF and the bureaucracy, it's called the deep state, they've entrenched themselves to the point where they try to fill the role of all three branches of government in one. You could call this the fourth branch of government, and that is a good thing to call it, but it's actually like not even that. It's like a fourth branch of government, but from within, it's all three, because the ATF will make a rule. All right, that's legislative, so they'll do that. They think that they're Congress. And Congress thinks that the ATF and all of these bureaucracies are Congress too, by the way, because it's this Administrative Procedures Act, which is one of the biggest abdications of duty of all time, when Congress said, you know what, we're too lazy to make laws anymore. We're too lazy to take the tough votes on things, so we'll just let these unelected people take the vote for us. And that's where we are. And that's where we are in the Second Amendment world, and actually in so many things throughout the United States. So they make the rule, which is the law. All right. Then they act as though they're their own judiciary branch, and they decide if their rule is constitutional or not. Remember, they've told courts that you can't even hear some of these cases. Wow. Yeah, but they have, and they do. And then they go in and execute it because they are part of the executive branch. And when they come to execute, we think of people like Brian Malinowski. He's not with us anymore. God bless his soul. We think of people like David Koresh, the Branch Davidians, all the women and children that were gassed with flammable gases. I mean, this is stuff that these agencies do, that if you like made a movie about it and even try to depict the horrors of it, people would say, oh my gosh, that movie's just like too taboo. Your German friends would say, das ist verboten. Like, whoa, like, how could you even conjure up such a movie like this? You know, in Texas and Waco, literally, these jackboots. Look, David Koresh, they said he was a cult leader. They said he was a whatever. They said many things. I don't know him. I'm not sticking up for him inherently, other than what they did to him and his family and his friends. He went jogging into town every day. They wanted to get him on so-called machine gun charges, because that's what part of the allegations were. If they wanted to get him on polygamy or whatever they were after there, well, they could have got him. They could have got him when he jogged every day into town, but they didn't do that. They laid siege to their so-called compound, their house that they lived in. And by the way, if you look at history, a lot of people throughout history have lived together in tight-knit groups, actually. And if you want to talk about multiple wives, well, he who is without sin cast the first stone, because you can look very early on in the Bible, actually. And you can see people with multiple wives. But no, they didn't do that. They penned them down and they said, you know what? Come and take it, as the old saying goes. And gunfights ensued. There were a lot of women and children in Waco, Texas. And they had shelters there, some above ground, some underground. And at a certain point, the feds came in, power overwhelming, with help from state and local law enforcement too. Make no mistake. Hey, they just all had a job to do. They were just following orders. Hey, I'm just following orders, man. That's what we always hear. Just following orders. Actually, that's what we heard at the Nuremberg trials, didn't we? After the fall of the Third Reich. They were brought up on charges in World Court in Nuremberg. And they said, well, what do you have to say for yourself? And they said, we were just following orders. You still hear it today, actually. You hear it more than you ever have, if you think about it. And Bill Barr was Bill Barr was involved on the highest levels at that time. Ended up serving again as Attorney General in the first Trump administration, Trump 45. And they literally retreated to like their bunkers, women and children, and they infiltrated and expelled poisonous, irritating, and highly flammable gas. At a certain point, they drove into the side of the building with something like a tank. Then they lit it on fire and literally fried women, children, men, people. And that's like not okay, because they say they said it's okay, but it's not okay. And nobody got in trouble because, again, the fox is guarding the hen house. And they're actually the ones that would have been responsible for arresting themselves. And of course they didn't do that. But they did. And then we think of Randy Weaver. Fed boys infiltrated. They said he was a little too right wing. He was a little too extreme. Yeah. Probably not. He was too extreme in his views, they said, so they infiltrated him with feds. And he was talked into cutting off a little bit of his shotgun barrel. You know what I mean? Cut off a little bit of a shotgun barrel after he was enticed to do it by insiders and plants. Well, they had to come down. Johnny Law had to come down with the strong arm of the law. An officer not so friendly showed up that day at his house. Just following orders, of course. And this is all okay, according to them. Why? Because they said it's okay. As they stalked and sleuthed and planned and connived. One of Randy Weaver's sons goes out with their dog to confront the intruder and bad guy, of course, obviously. The dog probably barked a little bit. Boom, shoots the dog. Well, you shoot someone's dog, that's fighting words where I come from. How about you? Well, before you know it, his son's killed. They're just in it. You're in for a penny, you're in for a pound with these people. Snipers perched, killing his family, killing his dog. He's holed up in his house with his wife and their newborn baby. You guys have heard about this, right? Nobody really talks about this, do they? Except for this channel every once in a while. I'm going to tie all this into Republicans and Democrats in just a minute. They're holed up. Finally, at a certain point, he's like, look, the woman and the baby's got nothing to do with this. So Randy sends his daughter out, his wife out, holding their newborn daughter to surrender. She comes out armed with a swaddled baby in her hands. You know, I surrender. This has got nothing to do. You know, let's just get the baby out of harm's way, and you all and Randy can keep duking it out. Per se. I mean, we don't know exactly what she said because, well, she didn't live very long. Sniper. U.S. government sniper. Paid for by tax dollars from people just like you and just like me. Paid the sniper's wages, paid for the gun, paid for the bullet. Paid for the large settlement, actually, when Randy Weaver ended up getting acquitted by a jury of his peers, by the way. But let me back up. Sniped her right there as she fell to the ground lifeless with a baby in her arms. Now, that baby did actually grow up, and she's a lady now, and she's alive. Don't know much about her. I think she keeps a pretty low profile, but I did look into her, and she's into horses and stuff. I mean, who isn't into horses that lives in that part of the country? Beautiful area, right? Well, finally, Weaver comes out and got acquitted by a jury of his peers. Through due process, he didn't even commit a crime at all. And they did this, and they did all of this. Now, here's my question for all of you. These are just a few of the things. Just a few of the things that they've done. Why is the ATF still even allowed to exist at all? Why are any of these people even allowed to exist at all? I hear a lot of people are excited, you know. They're excited, well, Kash Patel's running the ATF. Look, I like Kash Patel, I think. I hope he's still walking the line and being one of the good guys, but this is just so weird, and I'm going to get into answering some questions in a minute. And maybe some of you can help me figure this out and just think about this, because this is like a fundamentally like weird thing to think about. Why is it that an organization like this, a lot of my friends, a lot of my conservative friends have been happy lately about the ATF? Because now, like, they're guys in charge of it. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute. My guy, Thomas Jefferson, you know, one of the decent politicians we have in this country, wrote the Declaration of Independence. Alexander Hamilton et al. Wrote the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And in 1789, it was written and ratified in 1791, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So since the supreme law of the land says shall not be infringed, meaning if there was even one gun control law, if there was even a scintilla of gun control, that would be unconstitutional. Okay. So with that said, and I should be able to go by that, that should be the end of the story. Because I live in a country that's supposedly called the United States of America, I guess. And since the supreme law says shall not be infringed, even if the ATF was minding their P's and Q's, even if they were singing in the front row of the choir, and even if they were the picture-perfect citizens of the whole world, they still shouldn't be allowed to exist. Because any bureaucracy that exists for purposes of gun control, licensing, restrictions, all of which violate shall not be infringed, even if they were about as close to perfect as it can be. Now, they could never be perfect. Well, the only perfect man to walk this world, I believe, died for our sins. And I believe he's coming back. I don't expect them to be perfect. I don't expect them to be Jesus. But even if they were just as close as you could possibly be, they still shouldn't be allowed to exist because they're completely repugnant to the Constitution. But as just a couple of the brief stories I just iterated to you show, these people are far less from perfect. And when you really start thinking about it, they might possibly be them, the machine, all of them, whoever they even are, might be some of like the most evil people that have ever existed in our times, actually. But they're still here. So I don't know. Now they say the ATF's going to reverse course on the pistol brace rule. Hey, that's a good thing, meaning it's a lot less worse, right? I hate to see all kinds of people get hemmed up in SBR charges because they put a brace on their pistol. They say that they're going to be getting rid of the zero tolerance rule that has full force and effective law. Look, it's a law, an unconstitutional law, because Congress never passed it. And here's how I know. Good friend of mine that I knew for a long time, who I like a lot, lost his FFL, just so you guys know, not too long ago. Some of the T's weren't crossed, some of the I's weren't dotted. Maybe they mistook a comma for a period. One of the serial numbers was transposed or something. The paperwork was there, but it wasn't maybe in the right order. You know, just little stuff like that. So yeah, you know, I don't want to see gun shops lose their FFLs. But that's like, okay, like, and that's really important that they're supposedly getting rid of that. But here's the thing. The fact that we should even get excited that they're getting rid of zero tolerance for FFLs, I mean, we are, right? Like, we are, sure, but that's kind of like missing the whole point. Because the fact that we've acquiesced to, of course we should have FFLs. Just treat our FFLs more fairly. I guess that means we, and I don't mean necessarily me or you. Obviously, I disagree because I'm talking about it right now. But when I say we, I just mean collectively. We, the people, have now decided that, like, well, look, as long as they're only, like, consistently jackbooted against people, making them having this particular license to sell property that's protected by the Second Amendment, then it's good. Like, this is a victory. And it is, meaning it's way less worse, but it's still not really a victory at the same time, because the notion that we should even have to have a federal firearms license to sell a gun, to me, is literally insane. The fact that we should even have a National Firearms Act for it to even matter if something with a short barrel on it has a brace or a stock, and depends if you bought the proper tax stamp. Remember, a stamp that you have to purchase, a tax on a God-given, constitutionally protected right, Like, yeah, okay, it's good. I don't want to see a bunch of friends going to jail and prison because, well, I thought it was a brace. They said it was a stock. I didn't get enough points on my list for the, remember all the worksheet criteria? So look, this is awesome news. They're going to get rid of this because it's like way less worse. But yet again, I think you guys know what I'm about to say, don't you? Yet again, it's not like that good of news though, is it? Because this still, the fact that look, we are happy one more time because this is complicated stuff if you think about it. It's a bit circular, but it's also like super simple at the same time. The fact that we're like, yes, I can have my brace on my pistol again and not have to worry about it. Okay, great news, way less worse. We already said that, but we're still acquiescing and saying, yeah, but that means we're just like fine with the National Firearms Act. Look, there should have never been able to be a brace rule that meant anything. There should have never been able to be any of these rules. There never should have been a Trump bump stock ban. There shouldn't have been a Biden so-called ghost gun ban. There shouldn't have been a Biden engaged in the business of ban. There shouldn't have been a zero tolerance ban. None of this stuff should have mattered because, at its essence, the National Firearms Act, completely and utterly unconstitutional. The Gun Control Act, completely and utterly unconstitutional. And here's what it seems like happens. Okay? Here's what it seems like happens. The Democrats come in charge. They're the bad guy. Have you guys ever heard of good cop, bad cop on the side of the road? So the bad cop's like, you low down SOB scoundrel, bleepity bleep bleep, and he's roughing you up and he's being mean, and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then the nice cop walks up and is like, hey, back off there, buddy. Hey, man, I'm sorry about my partner. He's not being too nice, but hey, man, how's it going, dude? What up, bro? Hey, man, however people talk. It's the way some of these younger people talk. I can't even understand them anymore, but I digress. And they're looking and they're like, hey, man, look, man, he's a little hot under the chest. Never mind him. But hey, man, where are you coming from? Where are you going? You got a little something in the trunk, you know? You out with some wild women? You partying tonight? Look, this is all traps. This is all bait and switch. It's called good cop, bad cop, right? I think a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, well, the Democrats come in and they're like, we want to ban everything. And then the Republicans come back, oh, no, you don't. We stand for the Second Amendment. And they say, you can't ban everything. And they're like, all right, we won't ban everything, but let's pass the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. John Cornyn, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, many others. They all go through and they pass it. That's a major, major deal, by the way. That's affecting a lot of people. And that's law now. And then they promulgate like 10 different rules off of that law. And the Republicans are like, re-elect me because I protect the Second Amendment. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse. Hey, we only went along with a couple of the 100 things the Democrats wanted to ban. Then you have the former vice president comes in, puts all these anti-2A rules on the table. Then the Republicans get in, they're like, look at us. We're pro-Second Amendment. We're going to reverse the rules. Which on his face is awesome, and people celebrate. Like, look, we're winning for the 2A. Do you know how many lawyers and 2A personalities I've heard on YouTube in the last week? Major win for the Second Amendment. The pistol brace rules shut down. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess. I kind of agree. I'm like, it's a win, meaning like, since you're not losing quite as bad, you're winning, I guess. Where is it where, look, if you're going to do something solid to the Second Amendment, you'll say, well, it's the supreme law of the land. It says shall not be infringed. Why aren't they repealing the National Firearms Act? Why aren't they repealing the Gun Control Act? Why haven't they completely abolished the ATF? And no, abolishing the ATF does not mean like move all of their duties and authorities and responsibilities into like the DEA or FBI. That would actually be our worst nightmare because they even have more resources and more money. And if you shift all their, like this is insane. How many people I've heard saying, oh, this could be awesome. They're going to get rid of the ATF and morph them into the, you name some other alphabet soup agency. And I'm like, whoa, they have even more resources. They have even more troops. And yes, I am saying troops because These people literally act like they're militarized. They come in with full military kit. In fact, most people that I know that serve in the armed forces, look, everybody can't be like 100% cool all the time. I'm pretty cool, by the way, but all of my friends that are veterans weren't special forces, okay? Actually, a couple were, but for the most part, no. And for the most part, most of my friends and family, which I thank all of you for your service, by the way, when you were in service, you were less militarized than these alphabet soup boys are. So yeah, just put that in perspective what I mean. These people send in more troops than most of our troops are armed. You know what I mean? So no, that's not a win if we get rid of the ATF by having them swallowed up by the FBI or DEA, who have more troops, who have more guns, who have more resources, who can do more Malinowskis and Weavers and Courage et al., family, neighbors, friends. I don't know. And let me know what y'all think. I'm going to answer some questions in just a minute like I promised. Now, I do know there's this old adage in life where never let perfect get in the way of good enough. And I agree when it comes to so many things like personal relationships, people that you know, like in real life. That's absolutely true. But with a government that has a mandate that says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, there's really not a whole lot to compromise on there. And that is the law of the land. And for all the people that hate it, and many people do hate it, they can move to any other country in the whole world, actually, and not have a Second Amendment. And I actually think they should do that. If you don't like it, get the F out. Like, it's literally that simple. People that hate the Constitution and hate the founding documents and are repulsed by it, well, you can just leave. And here's the crazy part about that, how easy it'd be. You can go to any country in the whole world but the United States of America, and you won't have a Second Amendment. So literally all they have to do is leave here, and no matter where they land, they'll be happy because there won't be one. However, there is one, and it is there. And it's not been repealed, and it's not a second-class right. So while I believe when it comes to our personal relationships in life, yeah, nothing's ever going to be perfect. And don't let perfect get in the way of good enough is a very wise saying for so many things. But when it comes to this, I don't look at it that way. So where are you at with that? Like, is it good news? Yeah, I guess. But is it like really that good of news? Where we're like, oh, okay, I can still keep this brace on my pistol and not have to buy a tax stamp because it's not considered a stock. But here's the problem, where you start off the sentence and it's good news, because it is, I guess, right? But by the time you get to the second half, you're like, whoa, I live in a country where the supreme law of the land says shall not be infringed, but yet I'm glad I found a way to not have to pay a stamp to choose what length my barrel is. A real victory would be abolishing the ATF. Gone. And I focus on the Second Amendment. You guys can think about whether alcohol and tobacco need to be regulated this way. And some of you may be way more connoisseurs of those things than me and know all about that. But at least the firearms part and the explosives part, as far as I'm concerned, because those are arms too, gone. There should be nothing regulating those because it says shall not be infringed. And whereas we had prohibition, then they repealed prohibition. We had a temperance movement in this country. There's been lots of talk about alcohol. I don't know. You guys tell me. Because alcohol isn't like literally in the Bill of Rights, but people could argue that's part of their pursuit of happiness or not. Tobacco, same thing, right? So look, I'm kind of like whatever on that stuff. Like don't drink and drive and swerve into my lane, obviously. But like other than that, like do what you do. Just don't hurt anybody. You don't have the right to hurt anybody. Not out of irresponsibility or malice. It's defending yourself, of course, that's totally different. You don't have the right to drink and drive and hurt anybody is what I'm trying to say. But man, what you're doing, as long as you're not hurting me or anybody else, drink what you're gonna drink, Smoke what you're gonna smoke. Smoke your cigarettes, your vape, your whatever, tobacco, right? Whatever that even entails. Chew. Put a pinch of dip in if that's what you do, like whatever. So as far as I'm concerned, now that I'm kind of walking myself through this, yeah, just get rid of the whole ATF. We don't need troops regulating alcohol and tobacco either. Cigars, Marco Polo just said, yeah. Look, dude, I don't like the smell of cigar smoke. I'd sit there next to you though while you're smoking one, Marco. Like, dude, like whatever. It's just like, oh man. Jeez, oh Pete. So we get to the point where the one wants to ban everything, and then the other's like, well, we'll just let you keep a little bit. And since we'll let you keep a little bit, they're the good guys. The Supreme Court of the United States. Huh. Amy Coney Barrett. Wow. Do you guys notice her? The way she's been ruling lately? Amy Coney Barrett. Remember that last decision? Where they went through? Can they deport him? There was this technicality. He's not part of Tren de Aragua. Oh, really? What? No, he's part of MS-13. I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. Do you guys remember this? This is the kind of crazy stuff that's been going on in the courts. They're like, he wasn't Tren de Aragua. You know what I'm saying? He was MS-13 instead. You literally can't even make this stuff up. No, I don't know what Amy Coney Barrett's doing. I have no idea. I just like, well, I know what she's been doing. She's been making like really, really bad judicial opinions, in my opinion. She's practicing a very poor jurisprudence, in my opinion. Okay. Michigan House of Representatives was taken over by Republicans, which I'm super excited about. However, and this is the last couple questions I'm going to ask you guys to answer for me. I'm kind of being a little bit impatient with Bondi and stuff. Like, hurry up already. Get this stuff repealed like Trump told you to. You know what I mean? And let me know. Call up your state representatives in Michigan and ask them. And I'm going to call some of them I know because I'm friends with a lot of them. And a lot of them are good people. I told you there are some good people in Michigan on the state level. And I want you to remember that. Is it okay that I'm starting to get a little bit impatient with the Michigan House Republicans, though? Like, I'm wondering why Representative Jim DeSantis' red flag repeal bill. I'm wondering when that's going to get a nice, robust, good, Opens Meeting Act compliant, unlike the Democrats, Open Meeting Act compliant hearing. Get it to the House floor, a nice floor vote. Because I definitely believe that the Michigan House Republicans are different than Democrats. And there is some proof of that right now, meaning they're not literally trying to put gun control down everybody's throat every 5 minutes. So they are less worse. That's a fact. However, and call your state representative and say, 2A EDU said, you're a lot better because you're not cramming gun control down our throat every day, which is good. Look, compliment them when they're not doing bad things. However, that's not quite good enough. Where's some of this gun control repeal at? See what they say. I want to see what you all think. So I'm trying to be patient. How much longer should we be patient? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. There is. Second Amendment's pretty important, though, too. So we'll see what happens. Certainly, though, things are less worse. But I want to see, here's the thing, man. Like, when the Democrats get in there, they just bulldoze, like, real fast. Real fast. I don't know. Republicans are usually a little bit slower at all this stuff. I guess that's just the way to look at it. And I'm not even talking about like Michigan House Republicans right now or anything. I'm just saying, generally speaking, on the federal level, on the state level. they'll kind of get caught in the weeds and argue with themselves a little bit because, well, most of the time they're smarter people. That's what it comes down to, right? Where you can take some people, they're just kind of like minions. It seems like the Democrats get there, and when it comes to guns, they'll all just line up no matter what. They'll just line up and vote for it as fast as they possibly can. Let me take a look at the chat and see what is going on in here. See how you guys are doing tonight. Amy's scared, they all saying. Demon Rat threatened her and the others. Well, no, there's something to that, actually. They did literally go to Supreme Court Justice's house. Yeah. There was that guy that was on his way to try to assassinate Kavanaugh, right? I believe it was Kavanaugh. They caught him like on his way there. Is she scared? Jeez, oh Pete. I mean, I don't know. Jamie Thompson, there she is. How's it going, Jamie? I was just literally talking about my favorite state representative a little bit ago, and there she is. Awesome. I hope I can get my work done early enough tonight so I can see you tomorrow night as well. I'm like totally looking forward to it if I can get my work done. But no, we have a state representative in the house. Are you still here, Jamie? What do you think? Like, look, I'm trying to be patient with Michigan House Republicans. Like, I really am. And I'm still being patient. I am. I'm just thinking to myself, I'm trying to get these guys to call more, is what I'm trying to do, Jamie. I'm trying to get all these guys to get on the phones and emails and get calling more. I want to see the Michigan House Republicans get on a floor vote and vote down one of the major Michigan gun control laws. I would love to see that. That would give me some like major positive energy to see that it's really important to go vote next time. There you go, guys. See, look, here's how this works. Just like the Declaration says, the government is supposed to operate at the consent of the governed. Are you guys calling your legislators? Seriously, call them up. See, here the thing is, a lot of them are very pro-Second Amendment, actually. Maybe nobody's called. Isn't that how that works sometimes? See? Keep putting pressure. Get off butts and call. Let's pressure Jamie Thompson right now for her vote. Let's give her some positive peer pressure, guys. No, literally. Jamie can't wait. Jamie can't wait for some of these to hit the House floor. We don't even need to think about it. Like, literally, as soon as that hits the House floor, they say the clerk will open the board. Let's just say it's Jim DeSantis bills. It's a 3-bill package, which is what you need to repeal. Okay? Co-sponsor Jamie Thompson is going to hit that green button so fast, you're not even going to know what hit you. Someone's going to be like, whoa, did I just hear like a sonic boom? You know when you shoot a rifle and it goes faster than the speed of sound, it goes, they're going to be on the House floor, and they're going to be like, boom, a gunshot just went off on the House floor. Nope, that was Representative Jamie Thompson's finger moving faster than the speed of sound to vote yes. So I think we got her. See, guys, look. Don't believe me. Look right here. She would know. She would know. If you want bills to move, keep pressure. Keep pressure. I am going to be going over to Branch County, Michigan, who is represented by the awesome Representative Wirtz. She's a good one for the 2A, guys. I'm going to be going and speaking to those people on Thursday, which is awesome. And you know what I'm going to do if I see her there? I'm going to be like, hey, Jennifer, how's it going? How fast are you getting ready to vote to repeal those red flag laws? You know? And she'll be like, well, the only question is who can vote faster for it? Who do you think can hit that yes button faster to vote to repeal the red flag laws? Representative Jamie Thompson or Representative Jennifer Wirtz? No, this is a good thing if we've got them competing over who can vote no fast enough, or yes fast enough in this case. Jamie voted no as fast as she could when all this bull crap was being shoved down our throats 2 years ago. In this case, we want them to vote yes, because the way it works is when a law passes and ends up becoming public act, you now have to pass a law to repeal, right? So you repeal the old law, and it has to pass the Michigan House, and then it has to pass the Michigan Senate, and then the governor has to sign it. She ain't going to sign it, and that's okay, though. It's not okay at all. But it's okay for the Michigan House to pass it, even though we know that she's not going to sign it. That's a better way to word it. Because trust me, it's not okay that she vetoes it. What I mean is it's to be expected. Now, the Michigan Senate, this is what's interesting. Did you guys know there's a district in the Michigan Senate right now that has no senator at all? Like, my senator's name is Joe Bellino. And when I need something from my senator, I call him. Joe has literally like answered the phone in session before, where he whispers like, "Hold on, babe," and like he comes out, he's like, "All right, I was in session. What's going on?" Because I don't call him just for BS. So he's like, "Dude, maybe it's like really important." Look, that's who my senator is. I can call him if I'm happy with him. I can call him if I'm mad at him. There's hundreds of thousands of people in Michigan that have no state senator. She left. She went away to Washington, D.C., and the governor of Michigan won't hold a special election. In my opinion, she's actually probably not gonna. Now, you know what's interesting about that? I've thought about this. Let me know what you all think. Whether you live in Michigan or not, one of the main reasons the United States was formed is because there was taxation without representation. That was one of the biggest grievances against the King of England. There was no way you could ever be taxed in the United States of America without representation. Now, these people have a number of state reps that they still have, so that's like some representation. I guess you'd say half, right? Because you have two people that represent you. If you live in Michigan, in Lansing, you have your representative and you have your state senator. And they're both representing you in the two different chambers of the legislature. I wonder if all those people are going to have to pay taxes. Has anyone ever approached it from that angle? Because if they literally have no senator at all, and in my opinion, it's becoming quite obvious, the governor of Michigan will not hold a special election. Not that she can't. It seems like she's completely and utterly refusing to. Unless news broke today that I wasn't aware of. Literally as of yesterday, it appears she's going to refuse to hold a special election. What's up, Joe Pichetti? Nice to see you, man. You hanging in there, dude? Nice to see you, Joe. Now, how would that work? Now, this is Saginaw and the surrounding areas. What's up, Jane Locke? There's no senator. Now, you know something that could be interesting here. They say this could be a swing district. If the governor of Michigan were to hold an election, that seat could flip to Republican. And if it did, that could make it where there's a tie in the Michigan Senate. Now, there's this one fella. I guess we'll call him a fella just because we're going to be extra nice tonight. Have no idea how he or it identifies because I truly don't. You can't keep up with these people anymore. Jay DeBoyer. I like Jay DeBoyer. I do like Jay. Robert Chase. I know him well. He's a good dude. Michigan Representative Jay DeBoyer. I like him. He's a cool guy. But look, so if it flips red with this special election that she won't hold, that could make it a tie. Now there's a fellow, we're just gonna call him, named Garland Gilchrist. Anyone ever heard of him? And I have to be timid around these Democrats. No, I'm not being timid. I'm never gonna be politically correct. But they're like, oh, I don't identify as they, them, zer. I'm just going to call him Zer, just to be very politically correct. Someone said, 2A EDU, you're not nice enough. All right, I'll be more nice. Zer Garland Gilchrist the lieutenant governor. Now, he gets to preside in the Senate over a tie-breaking vote. Did you know that? Now, here's some interesting 3D chess that you all might find kind of funny. I think it would be funny if it happens. And I think Eric Nesbitt would do it, too. I think he'd do it a lot, actually, which is good. I like Eric Nesbitt, by the way, too. We've had some good face-to-face talks about the Second Amendment. I like him. But here's how this works. If you had the Senate completely split, say it was 19-19, and 19 Democrats were to vote for something and 19 Democrats were to vote against something, well, then Zurich Gilchrist could come in and break the tie. He has the tie-breaking vote, kind of like J.D. Vance would have the tie-breaking vote in the Senate. Well, here's the chess. And it's not really 3D chess. It's just regular chess. 3D chess is kind of preposterous, really. But this is just regular chess. The way it works is the majority of the members elected and serving, not present and voting. That's not what that means. No. Elected and serving. If the majority elected and serving vote in the affirmative, the bill passes the Michigan Senate. If there's a tie, Gilchrist is the tiebreaker, which could pass it 20-19. However, if one Republican senator were to not show up to work that day, or any day where there's key votes and not be there, well, there'd still be a quorum, so they'd still hold the votes or not. But if they were to hold the vote, think about this. You could have 19 Democrats vote yes. All 18 Republicans vote no. You'd have to have party line. No Republicans could defect for this to work. And then you'd have a 19-18 vote. You'd think to yourself, well, that means it passes, right? No, because the majority elected and serving has not voted yes. See, if you have 38 senators, the majority would need to be 20, not 19. Well, Gilchrist can break the tie. Yeah, he can only break a tie. If the vote is 19-18, it's not a tie. Gilchrist can't vote. It's not the majority elected and serving, so it doesn't pass. If they hold a special election, all right, and they flip the seat to a Republican, the best way to stop the Democrats from doing anything worse this whole entire session, and tell me if I'm wrong, some of you guys might see it another way, but I was just going through the logistics of how it would work. There's two ifs here. If there was one Republican missing every day from the vote, and if the remaining 18 stood in unison, rock solid, toed the party line, as the old saying goes. That's literally what this means in this saying. Holds the line and votes all the same way, they could get nothing through the Senate the whole rest of the term. What do you guys think about that? Have you ever heard of such a thing? It's actually like a very interesting little thought exercise. Kolazar running for state senate. Did you see that? I did not. And you're not talking about for the special election, right? Because there isn't a special election that I know of. And I think I'm right, aren't I, Jamie? How I prescribed that whole thing? If 19 Democrats vote yes, all Republicans voted no, and one was absent. Gilchrist couldn't break the tie because there is no tie. But the majority elected and serving did not vote in favor of, therefore the bill does not pass. That's if the Republicans could, well, there's two ifs here. If she'll actually hold the special election, and if, so yeah. It's just kind of a fun thought exercise, really, because I don't think she's going to hold the special election. Okay, I am going to once and for all get here and answer some questions because I told you guys I would. And I do see your question, Griffin Brown. I'll get to it, man. I will. Oh, okay. Kolazar's running in 2026. Okay, meaning gives up his House seat. Okay, gotcha. sometimes people literally like move districts so they can run in like a different, seat or whatever. So I was kind of like, eh. No, I'm trying to be nice to some of these people, these Democrats. I'm being very polite. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? Jamie says Jennifer broke her arm. LOL. I got her there. I can move faster. Oh, geez, that sucks, man. Is she okay? Wow. I'm going to be speaking in her district. I hope she comes. I hope she's doing all right. Wow. Geez, she broke her arm. That sucks. I have some super chats here I'm going to read. John Q. Public with a super chat and a channel member. What's happening, man? Thank you. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. Yeah, it is their right. It is their duty, right? Look, you throw off a tyrannical government in different ways. Part of that is actually voting. Part of that is in the interim, in between elections, calling up your representatives, calling up your senators on the state level and on the federal level, for sure. Look, if they're doing good, call them up too. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, if you have a Republican representative right now in Michigan, call them, thank them for the great job you're doing and all the stuff that you love that they're doing, because they're doing some really good things. If there's something you don't like, tell them that too, though. Like, that's good. They need to hear from you. I'm being dead serious. But then say, hey, I'd like to see you. I'd like to see you help advance Representative Jim DeSantis' bills, let's just say. If it's another bill that you're behind, that. I just keep kind of dwelling on Representative DeSantis' bills because I think red flag are like the worst. Like, they're all worse, but like red flag are like really, really bad. So if anyone wanted my opinion, or you wanted me to kind of like, well, 2A, which one do you think we should get? I want to see some public awareness made about the red flag laws. Not that I'm like complacent in the rest at all. I'm not even at all. But you just have to kind of like one bite at a time, take that bite, enjoy it, then keep pushing forward. John Q. Public with another super chat, and he's finishing it. Well, thank you, man. He says that is their right. It is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Well, right of the revolution, right here. From the Declaration of Independence. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them, that's all of you, shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. John Q. Public with another super chat. Well, thank you, John. Geez, that one's so tall I have to come up here. No, I'll hide half of my face. You guys are... See? Do I look like the ATF? Have you ever seen those pictures where the ATF guy's like, he's peering over the fence? I kind of like this right now. I'm going to hide behind the... John Q. Public says, Anthony Hudson for Republican candidate, Michigan governor. Permitless constitutional carry in Michigan. Will repeal unconstitutional gun control. I've never met the man. I did read his platform, and I like what I see a lot. So let me tell you the good and the bad about Anthony Hudson. Here's the good about him. Everything I've seen on his platform's awesome. Period. End of story. Like with the Second Amendment, with so many things. Here's the bad. Now hold on. Don't get mad at me, guys. I'm not actually going to say anything bad about the guy. But here's the problem. I haven't heard anybody. I don't know who he is. Do I hope I get to meet him? Yes, I hope I get to meet him. He sounds like a terrific guy. I love his platform. It can be pretty hard to get elected, though, man, when like nobody's heard of you. I'm just calling a spade a spade. So if he's your guy, then maybe I can meet him someday, and I'll let you know what I think. You guys meet him, talk to him. I haven't seen him around, as the saying goes. So that's the bad news with him, right? Now, I can tell you a few people I wouldn't want to vote for. I mean, somebody said something about John James. I think they said John James is going to run for governor. I don't know if he's declared or not. That's just what somebody told me. So take this as total gossip hearsay. That wouldn't be my first pick. All right. This is what, trust me. I'm not saying like John Q. Public, like what you're saying. I'm not saying that Anthony Hudson, like I have anything against the guy. I think his platform's awesome. It's just a shame that a guy with a platform that's so good like that, I haven't really heard much about him or heard of him or talked to him and like nobody I know has heard of him, really. I don't know. G23 with a super chat. Well, thank you, G23. I appreciate it. He said, let the ladies have coffee or cocoa, whichever they want. Well, thank you. I will definitely do that, and I appreciate the super chat, G23. And how's your wife liking that revolver? You said she is, but is she still liking it? John Q. Public with another super chat. Thank you, John. He says, a cop's life more important than your Second Amendment rights. Officer safety always wins, and we the people lose every time. Pennsylvania versus Mims. Oh, man. Is life worth more than a right? Well, here's the problem with that. I don't think we should have to choose between the two, because the Declaration of Independence talks about how all men are created equal and they're endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So certainly life is of the essence of what this country's all about protecting. Second Amendment, though, the right to keep and bear arms, it shall not be infringed. Here's the problem. If cops aren't doing jackbooted things, okay, if they aren't doing jackbooted things, trying to take people's guns, then there won't be these situations. I think it's sad that we have to be in this. Again, there's just so many false dichotomies out there. Like, who's more right? The cop that says, I'm just following orders and I have a family I want to go home to at night, versus the person that says, no, shall not be infringed from my cold, dead hands. Yeah, that's an issue. That's a big issue. And I'd appreciate it if any cop would put down their badge and not take those orders whatsoever. Problem solved. But the real problem is that we have these gun control laws, right? But it's a tough situation, yeah. It is. That's why I say just abolish the ATF, and then we don't have these jackboots, Waco, Texas, Ruby Ridge, the Malinowski household. ATF needs to go. Marco Polo with a super chat and a channel member. Well, thanks, Marco. He says, call, let your voices be heard. I know, right? See, a lot of people pay like these expensive consulting firms for stuff. You know what I mean? I'm just like, well, hold on a minute now. I wonder how I could get a hold of a state representative. See, here's the problem. Half the people out there are like, huh? How would I possibly talk to my state representative? I'm like, ugh. Some of them even would respond if you sent a carrier pigeon. No, I'm not even joking. Michigan Representative Jamie Thompson, okay? She's a good one. Look, I guarantee you she's walking over from the Capitol building to the House office building. And as she's walking through, all of a sudden, flutter, 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 a pigeon drops right at her feet. She'll probably look at it because she likes nature. I do too, right? That's a nice looking bird. And then she's like, whoa, wait a minute, in its beak. And then it drops a little scroll up note with a ribbon tied around it. and then it flies away. I'd say your chances are at least probably about 99 out of 100 she picks it up and reads it. So, I mean, hey, look, you can call, you can write. If you're good enough at smoke signals, I guess. Marco Polo with that cigar, smoke signal. A lot of the reps know how to read those. Carrier pigeon. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I wonder how I would get a hold of a state rep. Oh, there she is right there. Wow. That's actually awesome, though. Think about it. A representative that's willing to come in here and talk to the people and hang out. That's good. I like that because there's just too many barriers up where people are like, oh my gosh, how could I? What would I? No, it's really simple. You can call, you can write. I wasn't even joking. Look, I know it's kind of I'm trying to have fun tonight about kind of somber topics, but I do bet you though, if you had a carrier pigeon drop off a little note with a little ribbon in front of her, I can guarantee you Representative Thompson would read it. And I bet you all of them would actually. So carrier pigeon, whatever it takes. I'm like, oh. I'm like, okay, well, since we have a representative in our chat, what would we do? Would calling them do any good, Representative? And she comes back and says, well, hold on a minute. Yes, it would. So you don't have to take my word for it. Okay, yes, John James did announce. Okay. Lone Wolf had a commercial. Yeah, I heard that he did. Look, man, if he's your guy, he's your guy. I ain't trying to start a civil war tonight over this Republican versus that Republican. He ain't my guy. He hasn't impressed me too much. All right, let's get into answering some of these questions here. Whatever happened to Tudor Dixon? Last time I saw Tudor Dixon, she was the guest of Michigan floor leader, Michigan House of Representatives floor leader Brian Posthumus, and I had stopped by. This was at the governor's State of the State address, so I had stopped by Brian Posthumus's office, talked to him a little bit before the address, and then it was probably 15 minutes later I saw Tudor Dixon and Brian Posthumus in the hallway, right outside of right in the rotunda area, the round part of the Capitol, right outside the House chambers. So that is the last time I saw Tudor Dixon, face to face, personally, to say hi to her. The time before that, I actually saw her at, you can't make this up, it always goes back in circles, Representative Jamie Thompson at one of her events in Flat Rock, Michigan. So, if that's what you mean by what happened to her, I physically saw her a month ago. As far as political aspirations and running for governor, I don't know. Okay, Anthony Hudson spent 3 weeks in Army basic training. Just saying. Wait a minute. That doesn't sound right, Jane. 3 weeks? Yeah, you have to fill me in because I'm not a veteran, guys. So help me out, veterans. I'm pretty sure 3 basic training is longer than 3 weeks. So do you mean 3 weeks? I guess help me figure that out, what that means, Jane. Because again, I don't know. Do you know a pillbox? Harry? 3 weeks. Well, yeah, I thought basic training was quite a bit longer than that. So I don't know what that means. Yeah, John James won his seat, and it took 3 attempts and 3 districts to get elected, and he lost the Senate very badly. I don't know. What's happening, Glenn? Glenn Wiederholt says, thank you so much. You send out, I think he means more info than anyone. You're great. Well, you're welcome, man. I try to send out a lot of info. I mean, I'm not happy about that court case. Did you guys see my video? Look, in my opinion, I have to say allegedly, because according to the Michigan judicial system, I'm wrong. And my friends at Michigan Open Carry and Great Lakes Gun Rights are wrong, but Look, I don't think that the Michigan House Democrats, when they were in power last session, okay. Look, guys, I'm totally glad the Republicans won. Huge deal. And that's what I was asking you earlier. Like, is it okay that I'm getting impatient that they won't repeal one of these gun control bills? But trust me though, like that's why I said, like, if they have a hearing on Representative Jim DeSantis' red flag repeal, I do believe there'll be proper hearings, because I do believe Sarah Lightner, she's the chair of that committee, guys. Just saying. I'd call her office if I were you. No, I believe Representative Lightner will have a proper legal and courteous hearing. Man, they disrespected Dr. John Lott so much. They barely let anybody speak, but when they did let him speak, look, the man flew all the way across the country. This is like the foremost expert on Second Amendment stats in the country. In my opinion, and I'm just speaking for myself here, okay? But you know what? I was there, so I can have my opinion. In my opinion, Chairman Kelly Breen was not very polite to John Lott. And I don't believe she ran her committee, I'll say this, in an acceptable fashion. And it didn't look good. And I don't think it was good. That's why I'd like to see some of this gun control repeal get a nice, fair, proper hearing. And then I'll be really excited about that. Get me excited to go out and vote again, you know? Here's the thing though, man. Like, okay, hold on a minute. Let me get to some more of these questions. Oh, wait, what's this? A Shady Tree Mechanic. Jamie Thompson for governor. Not my district, but has my vote. I'd vote for her, I guess. But here's where I'm kind of like, well, no. Well, hold on a minute. No, Jamie's pretty young. Jamie's younger than I am. Look, no, we need her to be a state rep for a little bit longer. I'm going to be selfish here, okay? Like, have you guys seen some of the people they ran against her? This one dude named Call, I guess you'd call him. Like, people like this that's run against her. Ugh. I want to be selfish because she's my representative. You know what I mean? And keep her in our district. So how about this? Let's come up with a compromise. Jamie Thompson for state representative. Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to give her whole career plan. Okay. Jamie Thompson for state representative next time. All right. Then Joe Bellino, I believe, is term limited out. Then it's Jamie Thompson for Senate. You follow me here? Senate. I hope Ron's watching right now. You watching, Ron? Jamie Thompson for Senate. Then she'll literally be Michigan's favorite senator, obviously. Then Jamie Thompson for governor. That makes sense. She'll still be like younger, smarter, more attractive, everything than Gretchen Whitmer. So we get to keep her for state rep just a little bit longer. Then Jamie Thompson for senator. Is that a deal? Shady Tree Mechanic? Now, here's the tough part, though. Here's the tough part. They've gerrymandered since then. So actually probably not Jamie Thompson for senator. See, here's the weird part. Okay, so Jamie's my state rep. But where she lives versus I live, okay, her constituents where she lives have a different senator. And it's like a really blue district. Joe Bellino's my senator because I'm on the other side of the district. Look, when they gerrymandered these districts, they made it like totally insane. And that's one of the big things that helped flip the Michigan House and Senate over to Democrat. So never mind. Take back everything I said. See, here's the thing. Bellino's going to be term limiting out, but that doesn't matter because where Jamie lives just a little bit north. So here's another way to word this, and this just shows you guys how crazy all this is. So Jamie's my state rep, right? Joe Bellino is my state senator. However, her state senator is Darren Camilleri. Yeah. So yeah, I guess Jamie for state rep a couple more times. And then Jamie Thompson for governor. Now, where's the millionaire that's watching right now to fund that governor's campaign? We'll have to figure that out next. See, I literally like live and breathe this stuff, and I just had like a blonde moment and forgot for a second. I'm like, Jamie runs for Senate. She wouldn't be my senator. And wow, if anyone could do it, it would be her. If anybody could, but man, that'd be a tough district. That'd be a tough Senate district for a Republican to win. Like crazy hard. All right. Glenn comes back and says, I don't say much, but I read, and you're one of the best. Well, wow, man. Thank you. I'm involved with a lot of groups. You tell it like it is when it comes to the truth. It is what it is. Thank you. Well, you're welcome, man. And look, that's what some people like about me, and some people don't like about me. It's true. I think everybody pretty much likes that, though. All right. What other questions do we have here? Griffin Brown. I know we're not talking about these things. No, that's cool, man. Whatever questions you have. Like I said, I just got off on tangents like I usually do. Does hollow points run well in the newer G3C models? They've ran well in my G3Cs. I have a couple of them. The newer ones, I don't know. Look, here's what I'd say. Before you start carrying a specific hollow point, take it out to the range, practice with it a little bit. Make sure it's reliable, no matter what. In the magazine or magazines, depending how many you carry, that you're going to be carrying in your rotation for sure. You'll also get to dovetail and practice point of aim versus point of impact, because you may notice a little difference between the FMJ that you might be practicing with versus your self-defense ammo. So definitely check it out. Rescue Nut with the super chat and a channel member. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. It says, thanks for all the info. Well, you're welcome. Even though I'm trying to figure out still, what was up with the 3 weeks of boot camp? Or was it basic, you said? Oh, nice. Okay. G23 says she still has a revolver, and the moment she stops, it's going in my safe. Nice. So it's a win-win. Oh, he washed out. Oh, okay. That's why it didn't make sense to me. Okay. Because I was like, well, wait a minute. I think it'll last more than 3 weeks no matter what. That whole topic's complicated, right? Like, well, there's like basic versus boot. And for the most part, it depends what branch of the service you're in, but not always. There has been certain times where they've done like abbreviated. And if we're in like wartime, sometimes it's different. And then like if we're like in heavy duty wartime, sometimes it's been even different than that, right? Do you guys have any more questions? I wouldn't mind hanging out for a question or two. Lucky Dog 350X. What's happening, man? Nice to see you. Oh, my neck is sore. Ugh. If I kind of look like a bobblehead tonight doing this too much, sorry. My neck's sore. I've been doing a lot of power washing, looking up. You know, the house is like way up there. I'm looking up and I just realized, oh, my neck got stiff. What's happening, Bryce? He says, hey, 2A, we need help in Colorado. And I'm glad you bring this up, because here's the thing, man. I don't know exactly what's going on in Colorado right now. And I probably can't just go there. However, I am, if you think about it, when I always talk about this stuff. And this is why I wanted to mention it again, because when I talk about this stuff with Michigan, I might literally be talking about stuff in Michigan. However, I'm trying to give all of you in all of these 50 states a roadmap. So what I encourage you all to do in Colorado is actually the same exact thing that I'm encouraging people to do in Michigan. first you have to get the people together. Start talking to more people, Bryce, in your hometown, at church, at work, wherever it is that you're at, and tell them, hey, man, if you just sit here and do nothing, evil prevails when good men do nothing. You actually have to call these people and let your voices be heard. Get people excited to go in there and vote for somebody. If there's nobody good to vote for, then maybe you yourself or some friend of yours or somebody you know needs encouraged and needs help to go run for state level office. So whereas I'm not going to be able to help you guys in the same ways I do Michigan, right? Just because there's like only one of me and this is my home state. So, but it doesn't mean that I don't care about you guys. I truly do in all 50 states. That's why when I talk about this, I hope that all of you can get motivated and use some of the same strategies I'm talking about in Michigan. Because really, at the end of the day, the more things change, the more they stay the same, right? But I do wish you guys the best of luck, and I just can't be in two places at once, you know? Paul Bennett, what's happening, Paul? He says, did you ever answer my question about how I contact you for a speaking engagement? No, I did not know that you asked me, so I don't think I answered that. I think that's what you're asking me. Yeah. Did you answer my question about how I contact you for a speaking engagement? The answer to that is no, I have not answered that because I did not know that you asked. Shady Tree Mechanic. How many fingers am I holding up? Huh. Eh. That sounds like a trick question. I'm not doing any field sobriety tests right now. I'm too tired, guys. I didn't drink, but I'm too tired, all right? Wait a minute, what's this? DB Cooper's walking around with thermal. Nice. Oh, saw 2 deer, 2 coons, and 2 coyotes. Nice, man. Nice. Okay, what else do we have? Take a couple more questions, then I'm going to jump off and go eat, guys. I am hungry. Glenn says, yes, I do. I have a question on open carry. I read that Michigan is going away from open carry. Why I ask is because I run a lot of hounds. So tell me about this stuff and the non-carry in here. Michigan has no law that prohibits open carry. So it would be lawful except for certain exceptions, like you can't open carry in a gun-free zone. The whole schools thing gets kind of complicated. There was a Supreme Court case. I'm not giving legal advice, by the way. But I believe with a CPL, you can still conceal carry in a pistol-free school zone in Michigan unless the school board has made an official policy against it. No legal advice. I'd hate to see someone getting in trouble. But there was a recent case out of the Ann Arbor School District a couple of years ago that did kind of alter that. I will tell you a great resource, though, for the nuances of Michigan open carry. So I probably already got too specific because, look, I'm not a lawyer, and I do know about a lot of this, but it's literally can get pretty deep if you want to go super nuanced. However, we'll say this. Generally speaking, Michigan is a, quote, open carry state. There are some areas, though, where only people with a CPL can open carry, but people without a CPL cannot. Check out Michigan Open Carry. Okay, you can join Michigan Open Carry. They have forums. That's literally a gun rights group in Michigan that, while they support the Second Amendment generally, that's what they're dedicated to is open carrying. And I did talk about them in that video. And I think I have. Well, if you go to my X, I reposted the press release from Brendan Boudreaux of Great Lakes Gun Rights. I think it has Michigan Open Carry's contact information on it. Let me go here real quick for you. Are you guys all following me on X? Here, I'll show you this. This might help you out. So, yeah, miopencarry.org. And that's literally what this group is dedicated to. Because, look, there is some nuances, but is it going away generally? Yeah, dude, it was this close for them banning open carry in many areas. If it wasn't for that Hail Mary, nothing short of a miracle pretty much that happened. Remember, the Michigan House did not have a quorum at the end of that last session. If it wasn't for that, we came this close. I mean, with the Republican-controlled House, they better not be getting rid of open carry right now. Huh. That would be not good, and I don't think they are. Yeah, here's Michigan open carry. Might want to get a hold of those guys and just read through their site too, though. Like, there's frequently asked questions, there's forums. And that's literally what those guys specialize in. You're welcome, Bryce. Thanks, man. I hope it is helpful. What's happened, Shady Tree Mechanic? Don't feel bad he didn't answer all my questions either. Well, look, dude, I answered some. I'm doing, I did pretty good tonight, didn't I, guys? Come on now. There is currently no bill right now that's getting rid of open carry in this session, Glenn. Now, there was stuff wanting to get rid of it last session, okay, that luckily did not pass. See, here's the cool thing, if you want to look at it this way. Any bill that doesn't pass in a current session, it goes away, and it would have to be reintroduced under the new one. You know what I mean? So although you may have heard me talking about it like crazy, say, late last year, right? If they didn't pass, then something new would have to be brought back up. If I had to take a guess, I don't think that we're on the verge of them getting rid of open carry in Michigan right now. Not like broadly speaking. All right, what else have we got here? Harry Grimley says, are they trying to take away the right to vote for women who took their husband's name when they marry? Well, look, here's the thing. You guys can decide for yourself, man. If the 19th Amendment was repealed, women's suffrage, all 50 states would be red. There'd be more of a conservative or Republican at the very least, because, look, most conservatives end up running Republican because it's only really like two parties that can truly get elected for the most part. And but not all Republicans are conservatives, so I don't want to conflate the two because they're not always the same. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But yeah, there'd be like Republican supermajorities and everything if they repeal the 19th Amendment, if that's what you're wondering. Are they trying to take away the right to vote from women who? Oh, you're talking about that new that new congressional bill that just passed the House. Yeah, it appears so. Actually, it appears so. Yeah, because they'll have to come in with a birth certificate that matches their. I don't know, guys. You tell me, man. That's kind of what I read it as. It says you have to bring in like your birth certificate with your ID. And if the birth certificate doesn't match the driver's license, you can't vote. I don't know. I think. I know that's like Democrat like propaganda. I heard Alyssa Slotkin saying it. So I want to say like, no, that can't be true because I don't want to agree with Alyssa Slotkin, Senator. Senator Slotkin. Whew. Can't even believe I just said that. But she's a senator, United States Senator from Michigan now, I guess. I don't know, man. That's how I thought you were wondering if I think we should repeal the 19th Amendment or not. Well, I'll answer that another day. But, yeah, Carrie. How did all you internet lawyers read that bill? You know what I mean? Like, I did see that. I think the new Republican vote I believe if any woman got married and changed her name to her husband's name, she won't be able to vote going forward. I think. I don't think I'll be able to vote either in the next election as far as that goes. I don't think so. I'm not sure. I don't have a real ID. I'm an American citizen, obviously. Been born here. I mean, I guess I've gone to Canada a couple times, but that's like a 45-minute drive from here, so that's not even like that big of a deal. I have no reason to go back. I don't like the place really. But I guess like I was gonna say I've never even left the country. Well, no, I've gone to Canada a couple times. But from what I've read, again, I'm not trying to spread rumors, guys. I'm literally asking you. I was asked a question, and maybe someone else knows more about it than me. But from what I understand, the bill that the Republicans are trying to push through DC, I believe, and I hope I'm wrong, but I believe my wife won't be able to vote, and neither will I, because she did take my name, and that's not going to match her birth certificate, I don't think. And then I don't think your birth certificate changes, does it? I don't know. I'm not a woman. I've never changed my name. But then I also read that you're going to have a real ID to be able to vote. Real, quote unquote. And I don't mean mine's fake, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's called the Real ID. That's going into effect here in May in like a couple weeks. I won't be able to fly in a couple weeks. I won't be able to enter a federal building. From what I understand, and this was at a cursory look, I hope I'm wrong, I won't be able to vote anymore soon. And I've refused to get a real ID for other reasons. So I don't know, guys. I have no idea how any of this even works. I have to go back and look. So let me just back up. I'm not going to believe what Alyssa Slotkin was saying on the news the other night, because that doesn't even sound right, Harry. But I was listening to one of the Republican congressmen saying, yeah, if your birth certificate doesn't match your ID, then it could be a fake ID, or we give IDs to illegal. So I don't know. The whole thing's making my head spin. I hope me and my wife can still vote going forward. Okay, safe fact, you do not have to have a real ID. Good. Wait, see, Gary says, no. It's the same thing as showing U.S. citizenship. If you have a star, you're okay. No, I do not have a star on my driver's license, though. That's the thing. I don't have that. See, you might. If you have a star on your license, you have a real ID. I do not. My license literally has a disclaimer across the top that says not for federal identification, I believe is what it says. And it's... Look, I'm not big into licenses and permits, guys. Yeah, literally right here. That's what mine says. So I assure you guys, I do not have one. I hope I can vote. Okay, wait a minute. Jamie's chiming in. You only have to prove citizenship when you register to vote for the first time. Okay, awesome. Thank you for clearing that up, by the way. Because like these, and again, I was trying to be very transparent, guys, from the beginning. I have not had enough time to dig into this. I've been worried about Second Amendment issues more, quite frankly. But I'm having a hard time getting my ID out of my wallet here. It's kind of caught on part of the leather. But yeah. Oh, I'm already registered to vote, so hopefully I'm grandfathered in, because I ain't getting their real ID. And it has nothing to do with like that I'm not a citizen. It just has to do with I don't like it. Not for federal identification. See that? I assure you, there's no star on there. Okay, so Jane's the same as me. I don't have a real ID and no intention of getting one. Yeah, that's a whole separate topic, guys. I'm not even going to get into tonight because it is getting late. Yeah, like I said, yeah, no air travel for me. Yeah, I know that. I know I can't go on planes here in a couple weeks, and I won't be able to enter federal buildings in a couple weeks. What was that in the First Amendment? See, I must have forgot that asterisk in the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law abridging my right to petition my government for a redress of grievance. Well, unless you have, I must have missed that part of the First Amendment that said asterisk, unless you don't have a star on your identification. Can you imagine that? I wouldn't be able to walk into the United States House of Representatives soon. So maybe talk to my congressman. Yeah. Because I don't have a star on my ID? Wow. Just think about that for a minute. Two Talls Ale. I hear you, man. Yeah, no air travel. No federal building. That's what I read. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. But no, it is. Their logic is stupid, isn't it? Okay, EV3 Dale has a voter registration card, birth certificate, and a driver's license. Yeah, I have those too. The problem is like my ID isn't like a quote real ID, but it's not fake either though. What's up, Vince? Go enjoy your dinner too, eh? Thanks for the good times. Well, you're welcome, man. Now I'm just gonna jump off in 1 second. Have a see him with the chat saying here. Nice to see you, Vince. Oh, yours says that too, Pillbox. Okay. I think we'll be able to vote. Sean Zimmerman says, yeah, I'm talking currently. Now, I got to go research into some of this. I just knew I wasn't going to believe Alyssa Slotkin. You should have heard her on the news. Wow. Yeah, I don't fly either. I know. G23 says, I'll send you a gold star. Awesome, man. Yeah, that'd probably work out. Just get like one of those little stars like that the teacher puts on the kids' worksheets. You know, when you're in school, when you're in grade school, just slap that on there and be like, well. Yeah, it says restrictions not on it. I thought it was a Yeah, that's strange. Yeah, I get it. No, I don't think illegals should be able to vote, and illegals are breaking the law, and they should be deported. I'm not too cool with that at all. I think illegals are a huge, huge problem in this country too. I'll have to think about what the answer is to all this because it's a little complicated, right? Like, no matter what, I don't want illegals to be able to vote. But I think it's a tyrannical government that makes me have a star on my ID to be able to go into a federal building. You know what I mean? Innocent till proven guilty, right? Like, I'm not an illegal immigrant, and unless you can prove I am, I should be able to go into a federal building as much as I want. Like literally, like it's my natural right to peacefully protest and to petition my government for redress of grievance. That's what the First Amendment says. But according to what I understand, I'm not talking about voting anymore. This is a separate topic that may or may not be adjacent. But I've been reading article after article that's pretty darn clear that says I won't be able to go into federal buildings without a real ID. And I think that's the definition of a tyrannical government. I already paid for the privilege to drive, and it's a privilege because if you have to pay for it, it's a privilege. I already have to pay for a CPL in this state, which means carrying a firearm in Michigan is a privilege according to the government, not a right, because you don't pay for rights, you pay for privileges. And it's not enough. It's never enough. But I mean everything I just said beforehand too. Like illegals voting, huge problem. They're issuing IDs to illegals. Deport them all and get them out of there. I love listening to the Borders Are. He's pretty gruff and like straight to the point, right? Holman, isn't that his name? I like hearing Trump talk about it. Like, I'm with those guys on deport them and get them out. No problem with that at all. There's a right way to immigrate here, and if you immigrate, we need to have a meritocracy, merit-based. If you're going to be a net asset to this country, you want to be here because you love America and want to be a great American, awesome. There should be a process for that, and it should not be a very easy one, by the way. That's why it's called meritocracy, merit-based. I believe in all of that. So don't think for 1 minute that I'm like, oh, well, but no, this is an issue right now. I have to think about. I don't know what you do. I don't know. Because illegals voting, huge problem. Huge problem. Should you have to have an ID to vote? Well, you shouldn't have to, because people should just be honest and not cheat. But that's not the way it is. So I understand why it's such a hot topic. I'm just not comfortable, though, that I have to have a certain star on my license or a certain whatever on my license to be able to buy my privileges. Yeah. Because I remember when I went to renew my license last time, that one was more expensive. It's not even like I'm a tightwad. I blow way more money than I should. This is on principle here, though. We shouldn't have classes of citizens. We're the citizen that's of a higher class that pays a little more, that has a little more upper echelon driver's license. They're allowed to go into a government building that they pay for and they own part of too. That person can go in there, but then like some other dude that's like just as American as they are can't go in there, because I don't like that, though. That's not good. And I haven't told you guys the answer, because it's not that I even have the exact answer, because these illegals with their driver's licenses, I guess they're quote real driver's licenses, but they shouldn't be giving driver's licenses to illegals. That's what the problem with all of this is. Look, the post office, Jane, is a federal building insofar as it's like a federal offense to carry a gun in there. If you damage someone's mailbox intentionally, vandalize it, that's a federal offense. So insofar as certain things, it's a federal offense. Yeah, no real ID, no vax either, G23. Yeah, there's a lot to this, actually. There is. I'm not trying to go down a rabbit hole, but there's a lot to this real ID, why I don't want one. All right, John Q. Public with another super chat. Thank you, John. Says repeal MCL 750.227 Michigan vehicle carry provision. I know. How's everything going with that, by the way, man? Are you doing okay? I hope you are. We have... Yeah, Glenn, dude, get them out. Yeah, they need to go. So don't even... This is where it's so hard. Like, I know like half of what I'm saying might sound like some kind of Democrat talking point. That's not it at all, though. It's like, get them out. Out. Like, this is a major issue. The illegals, out. There's plenty of good immigrants that came here the proper way and that are excellent Americans. Those ones are good ones. These illegals, out. But no, man. You shouldn't have to have a real ID. An ID. Someone just asked, "What's the star mean?" I don't know, dude. I don't have one, right? But apparently, if you have a certain type of driver's license in Michigan, it has a star. like up here on the top. Mine doesn't. Mine's considered not real. And mine says not for federal identification on it. See what I'm saying? And I'm an organ donor still too, which I thought was the right thing to do. But then I saw a whole thing on that, and maybe that's not the right thing to do. I don't know. I have to think about that too. Like, it seems like a very compassionate thing to do. But then I was reading about how the government's got in to mess up the organs too. I don't know, man. Now, I should be able to, yeah, I should be able to go into a government building and fly on an airplane without a real driver's license. And keep in mind, guys, when I keep saying real, it's called real ID. I don't mean real as in it's not fake. Yeah, see, what's up, Lori DeVries? How you doing? She says you can't be brain dead. They keep people on machines to harvest their organs. Organs are profitable. I do understand that. I do. Oh, dude, there's a lot gleaned. Two Talls Ale, there's a lot gleaned when they scan your licenses for all these different things. Whether it's to get to a party store, you're scanning it to get into like a sporting event. Oh, yeah. Okay, wait, pretrial, postponed until May 5th because court-appointed public defender did not file my motions in the case. Besides going on a vacation and showing up late for court? Wow. Wow. Hmm. You might have to file something with the court that you might have insufficient or incompetent counsel, maybe you're saying? I don't know, dude. See, that's the thing Jane brings up too with this. Yeah, I've got to think about that more. I don't know. You know what I mean? Though, on its face, it seems like a very nice, compassionate thing to do, though, doesn't it? Get them out. Yeah. Yeah, we do. We need to hold those that issue IDs to illegals accountable. Here's the crazy part about all this. If they're issuing IDs to illegals, which I've seen a lot of stuff that shows they are, in my opinion, they are. I'll leave it at that. What's to say this illegal doesn't have a real ID? Isn't this ironic in America? According to what I understand, I soon may not be able to go into a federal building. Being as red-blooded of an American as anybody, but some illegal that was issued a real ID will be able to. Isn't that a real SOB? What's up, Acorizer? Yeah, tell the FOID card holders. The FOID cards are, we don't have to pay for rights. FOID cards completely and utterly unconstitutional. I agree. Wait, a lot of your IDs say it says not for federal identification. Man, we must be the, are we the outcast guys? No. No, I'd say we're actually the in crowd here. I got my chauffeur's license, which I have to drive the size truck I do, right? Wait, are you guys scanning your licenses? Be very leery of that. He says, some artist grabbed my license out of my hand and scanned it at Walmart. I forced him to delete the information from his phone. I got the Walmart manager involved. Oh, yeah, man. Dude, there's all kinds of stuff. There's the barcode. There's the magnetic strip. There's a whole nother. I don't quite want to call it a QR code, but a different type of barcode. I mean, man, this starts making me think of Revelations and all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? With how much they want to scan us with everything. So, well, you can all read the book of Revelations tonight. I also recommend reading Leviticus, which is one that they don't like to read too much. A lot of churches won't preach from Leviticus anymore, but I suggest you read that too. But while you all do that, and I think I'm going to tonight as well, I'm going to jump off, go get some dinner, and I will see you all again soon. Tomorrow night, I will be over on Locals and Rumble, where I can touch guns live. And for any questions that I didn't get to tonight, although I think I got to quite a few of them, leave them in the comment section after the video. And as always, shout out to the replay crew. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.